to tell you how your office is converting and where the holes are there. You need a good CRM in place. You need good processes in place to know when somebody submits a form on your website, when somebody calls your office, when somebody starts interacting with your office, how many of those people close. That's going to tell you one piece of the equation. The other piece of the equation is Google Analytics. That's going to tell you how people are interacting with your website. Are they all bouncing right away? Are they not knowing where to convert at? Are there even places to convert? Are there pages for them to read? Are they not reading anything? That's going to be another portion of the equation. And then the last is going to be the information that you're actually promoting. So your ads, your posts, how are those doing? Are those, getting good click-throughs compared to the impressions that they're drawing? The people that they're sending to landing pages, are they spending a decent amount of time there? So that's going to tell you whether your audience is doing well or the creative is doing well or not, because those are two different things. The creative is, again, the asset that you're promoting and how you're communicating it. And then the audience is going to be, of course, who you're looking to reach. So if you're looking to reach if you're targeting the right audience with the right creative that's communicating the right message to them, driving them to a website or a landing page that communicates the right message and drives the point further home, and it's easy to convert, you'll see that part in your CRM and be able to track how your staff is interacting with them until they become a full-on client.
I love it. I mean, it always fascinates me how the advice that we give or the advice that we hear from our guests are always so similar, even when the industry is so different. We're going to events, we're building long-term relationships with people, we're engaging with them on social media where they already are. We're finding mentors, we're building these connections. It's fascinating to see that it seems to work. I mean, that's what everybody says across the different niches, across the different industries.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, our industries are different, but you're dealing with people, right? And I think that people kind of boil down to the same things. We're looking for that security. We're looking for people who know what they're talking about. So, the other thing we did, I spent a lot of time writing articles and writing blog posts and doing things like that where I can show, listen, two things. One, this is really complicated, so you should probably hire somebody because you're not going to understand everything that's going on. And two, you know, here is at least the knowledge, right? So if you don't have an attorney, if you don't have this, here's at least the baseline. Like, look out for these things, look out for this issue. Um, and I think that when you're doing that, when you're reading the same group, it really does boil down to people just want to feel secure, and that when you do more genuine marketing and showing who you are as a person, that people feel secure in that.
I much prefer working with a client, keeping it confidential, not letting it get out to the public, and again, accomplishing that client's goal without anyone ever knowing that there was an issue or that I was ever a part of it. And I can't tell you how many times that occurs. A lot of people in the sports world know me for the trademark filings that I do because they're public filings and it's not a bad thing, right? People are branding themselves. But what about all the really serious bad issues that never come to light that I was a part of that you'll never know? I think that's one of the more interesting parts of my practice, which is that there's so much here in the mind that I know that you'll never know, and I will never say anything about it because more than anything, I take my job extremely seriously. And if a client can't trust me, there goes my practice, especially representing high net wealth individuals, celebrities, athletes. If you can't trust me to keep my mouth shut, I'm done.
An average day for me in Chicago in the city is walking down LaSalle Street with snow hitting my face sideways and filling my ear with snow as I'm trying to get to a meeting. and you get to the meeting and you're all wet and everything. And if I was lucky, I'd have maybe 3 or 4 of those kinds of meetings in a day. Now I'm in Ireland talking with Walt Hampton, who's an amazing, guy. And then I'm in California, later that morning, and then, et cetera. So having like an average of maybe 6 to 9 meetings a day, and they're all super efficient. You're still able to build relationships, but you're doing it in a more efficient way because we're forced to do that. And everything is potentially, just easier now. And I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way things were. I mean, networking may, but I'm not sure. I mean, even the networking I'm running in Chicago, that we're ever going to go back to full, live in person, face to face. It's worked out so well through Zoom. So I think we have to look at this as an opportunity. And I'll give you one more example. A number of my clients who are dealing with general counsels who would struggle to get meetings, lunch meetings, because the GC has to leave the office. They have to go and meet them at the restaurant. They have a long lunch because they're having a good time talking. That's great for relationship building. And then the GC has to leave, so that GC might have 3-4 hours invested in this. And GCs are going to turn that down because they don't want to spend a half a day. They don't have the ability to spend half a day at a lunch anymore. So now you can get a meeting with a general counsel and have the whole thing knocked out in 45 minutes. And they're more inclined to say yes, because their schedules are a little lower, or they see it as it's not going to be quite as time consuming. So we have to look at the positives. There's so many negatives, obviously, with what's going on. I mean, beyond belief. From a business development perspective, I think it's been a little bit of a blessing.
We want to have the fancy office in the penthouse at the downtown location, whatever, and that may not be what we actually need, and that may be what keeps us from having a viable business.
Law had this problem before Instagram existed. I think that for some reason in law, more than in any other profession, there's this need to look good to colleagues, not just to clients, not just to the world at large. It's almost like and I think it might be created in law school and the internships and in the first jobs that we hold, is that there's this almost this thing, or this halo around it, that in order to be a successful lawyer, you have to look a certain way, you have to dress a certain way. If you don't fit that mold, then you're not successful. And nobody's looking at anybody's bank accounts, but you're coming from a world where the only people who are really successful in the large law firms are the partners, right? It's up until that partner level, you're getting paid, but you have to work your butt off to be able to get there. And it's not like you have earnings potential that's unlimited, right? You get your paycheck, even if that paycheck is a decent paycheck, that's it, right? There's nowhere to go from there. And until you hit that partner level, none of that is possible. So most law firm owners have left before they became a partner. So you never got to experience that part of the business. So now you're left to kind of figure it out on your own. So you're mimicking the model that you saw, which was at your level in the law firm. And that's really where I think the challenge begins. Although this problem is not exclusive to law. It just happens to be rampant there.
Look up the Business Model Canvas. It's a tool that is designed more for technology companies, so there's a little bit of friction with it. I adapted that tool for a piece that I did for Clio, the legal practice management software. It's just at clio.com/new normal. That ebook that I wrote for them is called Designing Your New Normal, and it's about how to turn ideas into action, right? How to filter your ideas so you don't get overwhelmed and then decide which ones are the best ones. But what the Canvas does in general is it asks hard questions of whatever it is that you're trying to do. So visually, it's a visual tool, so it's hard to explain. But what you see on the thing is that on one side, you have sort of the who, or the demand side. On the other side, you have this how, or the supply side, your firm. And in the middle, you have a value proposition. And the question with that tool is, when I think about the who, when I think about the demand side, what are their jobs that they want done? What are the pains they want to avoid and the gains they want to get? And then on the other side, there's my how. What am I offering, right? What jobs is my product fulfilling? What gains am I giving? What pains am I helping to avoid? And is there a fit? If there's not a fit, then there's a business model problem. Inside all of that, in the business model canvas, there are things about what are your channels, right? That's what we're talking about today, is content marketing as a channel, a way that you connect with your who. But there are things too about billing. So for example, you hear a lot of people say you should switch to subscription services, right? You should have a subscription model for your business. Well, the truth is you can't do that without it causing ripple effects across the rest of the business model canvas. So these are big questions and obviously probably beyond the scope of this conversation, but I would encourage you to go find the business model canvas and just work through a few of them. You could just go on YouTube and search examples of the business model canvas, and they'll show you how to do this. The key is, as you do that, if a channel that you're going to use to connect with your consumer, if you're thinking about that, you want to connect with people in this way, you got to know who those people are. Your marketing is value. It is still a transaction. Are you meeting a need for them? If you're not, then don't do content marketing.
So I've noticed this both in my practice and seeing other attorneys, and then looking at different statistical analysis that are done on sales in general. It's kind of the expert curve. There's this idea, and I cannot remember what study it was that I was looking at. This was 2 or 3 years ago, but there's a study that shows that the more expert you become, the more you have a decline in your salesmanship and your ability to sales. Because it's that idea of beginner's luck, but it's not actually beginner's luck. It's that a beginner is just as enthusiastic about the process as the potential client calling in. They're talking about them and they don't have all the answers. But sharing in that journey together, I think, is what converts sales. So saying, we can help you with this, not giving specifics, doing broad generalities, that's what's really important in the sales process. Once an attorney gets to the point where they're just saying, okay, this is the same case I've seen 500 times before, they're not as engaged with the potential new client as they should be. They're just rattling off the stats that they know, telling them, well, this is what we normally do. Clients don't want to hear that they have a normal case, because they are an individual, unique person. They want to be treated as an individual, unique person. One of the core values that we have is we don't treat people as a case file. We see you as an individual human being, because, people are people, but when you get into the business and you've been doing this for long enough, you do start to see charges and files, and that's just how your brain works. So that's why we don't even allow attorneys to do intakes anymore, because we don't want that to happen. We have non-legally trained salespeople doing our intakes. And right now we have 3 intake people, and 2 of them are stay-at-home moms, and all 3 of them are re-entering the workforce after an extended period because we're able to offer them virtual work. And we put them through sales training, not legal training. So they go through the process of assessing a client's needs, making sure they feel heard. And that is what gets the clients in through the door, past that little checkpoint of, do you have money to retain us, on to becoming a client. Our clients don't meet their attorney that's assigned to them until 1 to 2 weeks after signing up with our firm, which is unusual for a criminal defense practice. It's not as unusual maybe for a personal injury practice, but...
But it was essentially, give me your name and email. I want to make sure that the email doesn't bounce when it's sent back to you. That maybe 10% of emails bounce.
Wow.
It says, download this text file, which is a transcript of a 4-minute video I posted on YouTube. Write a blog post, go to this Google form and paste it into the Google form along with your name and email. And then I'll get back to you. And that's it. That's the entire job application, right? Some people posted in not great blog posts, right? Oh, and I included, I have a checklist on how to do it, and I included that portion of the checklist. And so I said, just follow this checklist. Maybe a third of people didn't follow the checklist. or did something that I didn't want at all. One person created a PowerPoint presentation based on writing. I'm like, that's less than useless for me. So like, I didn't hire that person. Maybe most of the rest did an adequate job. And then the person I ended up hiring did this. They posted in the blog, and they had a little preview before it, a little like intro. And they said, hey, I assume that this is for an audience in the United States. And I think I understand what you were talking about. So I did some keyword research, and I included some additional keywords in the text, and they're all in bold, so you can see where I put them in.
All right.
I don't even have to look at anything else. You're hired.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so this process really makes the best fit for exactly what you need them to do. It makes those candidates rise to the top.
How do you help lawyers navigate sort of that telling a story without violating client confidentiality? I mean, is that just to leave the names out and make things a little vague? Like, how do we thread that needle?
You could just use the first name. And also if a review gets posted online, it's public. So you can just use that. You can take screenshots of it. You want to show authenticity to reviews. So usually screenshots works better than just having the text of the review. So if you can provide just some screenshots, go to your Google, pull out some screenshots, those kinds of proof things works. And also, don't forget about video reviews. Video reviews are also very, very, very powerful. We could talk all about reviews all day long, but video reviews also, if you have at least 3, those 3 videos could become the golden nugget of like basically you getting clients for the next couple of years. So have a goal to get at least 3 video reviews, put it on your side, your funnel, put it in your emails, and just use that as much as you can.
So that's 3 clients sharing the experience they had when working with a law firm on video.
Yep. And any lawyer can get those 3 video reviews. And the reason why most lawyers don't have those 3 videos yet, which is I'm sure most of us, is because you haven't asked yet. So as long as you offered a great service, you take care of your clients right then and then. Hey, do you mind if you record me a video review? And get that. And
so what's the mindset of that firm owner, CEO, lawyer when it comes to online presence? Like, what should they be thinking? What should they be doing to make it better, to focus on it, to put in the effort?
So first and foremost, if your name is intrinsically linked to your law firm, you're a law firm owner, you're a business owner, you better believe that you are now a public entity, right? So you can't unlink yourself from the fact that your face should and probably should be on your website. It's probably on your Facebook banner, on LinkedIn. If you are not the front man, again, so to speak, front woman for your firm, for your business, then honestly, probably at this point, if you're in a service-driven business, you may even be doing something wrong, because you are that brand and people want to work with you, whether it's a house cleaner or family law attorney. Like, there is a reason why you're in business for yourself and not working for a big firm. So there is something special about you. You make that difference. So, you're putting your face out there. It's important that you have a professional presence. You can choose to lock down sort of your personal Facebook. You could have 2 profiles. I know people who do that. It's sort of complicated, but you could. I think the important thing, though, is on the business side, is that you take ownership over your online presence and you treat every channel equally. What I mean is, and what I see often, is that people don't, and they miss out on a lot of new business that wants to interact with them. And there's this chase to set up every online profile to say, look, I've got a Facebook page. I've got Twitter, and heck, I have Pinterest, and I have all of these different channels, and I never maintain them. And I just sort of stood them up. I put a little content there. Maybe once in a while, I'll throw up some graphic or I'll share a blog post. And then, if you neglect them, they're sort of worthless. But in doing so, in having that sort of neglected profile out there, it's like having a Google My Business sort of listing and then a review from 3 months ago. No one wants to see that. You might as well not even be there because it's probably doing you more harm than good. And that's what I want to emphasize.
Because what you just defined is this universe that becomes shrinking, concentrically shrinking, smaller and smaller and smaller, of people that you can talk to that have the same challenges and mindset that you have, and same opportunity for success and transformation. It gets smaller and smaller. If you're just talking to the people that are in your neighborhood bar, most of them suck at running a business. So the moment you make that distinction, you look around and go, okay, decent enough person to have a beer with, but I can't speak with them about the struggles that I'm having, nor can we work together to try to figure out what next we could do. So I'm not going to get these answers from these people. Whereas when you're in a group coaching setting, and you do, by the way, I think graduate into higher levels of coaching as you make progress. And some people are going to do that at different speeds. But we're at the point now where we almost have the group that I'm in. He's almost this really small subset of about 11 lawyers that came from another program that we were like, look, we're progressing faster than other people. Our mindsets, we want different challenges. And so even within that, you look at kind of that scaling up, even by the time we've gotten to that point, the universe of people that can talk to me, that I can talk to about the stuff that's in there, that I will listen to based on what they've been able to accomplish and how they've transformed, it's smaller and smaller. And we're paying for a coach to come into our group, to do our things. It's still the same coach that I met in 2008, to have him highlight everything, all still the same, because he can still put goalposts in front of us. But it's one of the reasons why those groups or that setting is so valuable. Whether it's Maximum Lawyer, which, by the way, I think has got a big, wide spectrum of success and levels, especially when we see some of the questions that come up from time to time. But whether it's that is what, hey, listen, you're on a list, sir, from lawyers that are asking questions about business. That is a smaller circle than your neighborhood bar. Or you start moving up to whether it's Atticus training off of it, if it's a practice growth program, which is their initial program, or it's dominate your market, or it's their elite program, whatever it looks like, being in and around those people is incredibly helpful for the reason that I started out with in the conversation, which is such a lonely journey otherwise. And when you get to that point in time where you're ascending up the mountain, there are fewer people that can walk with you. It gets lonelier. You need that component to it.
I do think there's a few principles to be thinking about here. One is this idea of consistency. You don't need to be spending a ton of time on LinkedIn, but if you're going to be there and you want to be perceived as a thought leader and really, grow your network and start to see results from that, the consistency of effort is definitely key. And then again, getting back to this idea of know what you're doing there. I like to think of having a couple content pillars. So what are the core ideas that you're creating content around, and then staying in that lane as much as possible? It doesn't mean that you can't ever deviate from it, but you want people to come to expect something from you so you can meet that expectation. So I try not, I'm generally writing about LinkedIn tips, marketing, and business development issues. Sometimes I deviate a little bit out of that, but I find that, if I'm staying in that lane, my audience has an expectation around that. They will, generally read my content and react well to it. If I was always bouncing around quite a bit, I wouldn't really be able to gain traction maybe the way that I would otherwise. And I think that's important. I think that you should be thinking in terms of maybe having a mix of things where you're sharing some subject matter expertise around what you do, and then also injecting some personality into your content as well. So I think that's important. So it doesn't mean you're just always sharing ideas about, the legal issues that you are addressing, but rather showing some of your humanity and personality in your content as well, because I think it's cliche, but people hire the lawyer and not the law firm. But just because it's cliche doesn't mean it's true. So I think people like to get to know who they're dealing with or potentially dealing with through their content. So having that mix, even on LinkedIn, which of course is a professional social media platform, as they say, a professional network, but still showing some of your human side in the process is important in terms of building your brand and gaining attention on the platform.
We as the attorney, I mean, what do we need to do then on our end before the hearing starts as well?
Well, you want to be all the things that anger a judge in court, you want to have thought about there. In other words, timeliness. Being late on Zoom court angers a judge. I think the direct quote from my federal judge, I'm taking a look at some of his quotes, quote, "There's nothing that pisses me off more than a lawyer who gets to a Zoom hearing late. You wouldn't do it in a courtroom. Why do you think you can do it at Zoom?" All the things, all that decorum. I think you never go wrong being casual, not being formal in a courtroom with the judge. And so the same thing goes with this. It really makes a difference. So not being late, you understanding how to use your functions, making sure your lighting's good, and making sure you can be heard. And everybody, you're wearing your microphone. I have one of these blue snowball ones, and it's also not a money thing. You don't have to invest in a lot. This one I actually got because a neighborhood yard sale tech guy was moving $10 for something that costs 70 or 80. So I was like, yay, great, it works. It makes a difference. Lighting, same thing here. I'll show you my little $30 from one of the big box tech stores, and having that lighting. And you can see if I take that lighting away, you're not seeing my face as well versus if I just knocked it over. And the reason why, it's not vanity to see your face, but again, more than ever in the courtroom, a judge is looking at your face. When you're in court and how you express yourself and whether you seem sincere in what you're saying, does it really matter? Is your emotional level the way it should be, is told not just from what they hear, but what they see on your face. And the nice thing about this is, I think, as lawyers get used to doing it in a hearing, you do kind of forget that it's Zoom court and you get into your argument and you want to show that same passion that you are right and that the court needs to rule in the way you're asking.
But the difference between person A and person B who took the exact same actions and have stayed the exact same spot on month 2, the difference is like the first person would be like, okay, I failed and I'm gonna stop there, and then I'm just gonna go back to conventional wisdom and do what I'm supposed to do. And the other person can be like, okay, what did I learn from this? What is this teaching me? And how can I take these lessons to actually ask better questions so that I can build a better life? And so it's just that constant pushing towards better each day. Not like, okay, I've arrived here, it's my best life, I'm done. Tony Robbins says something like, people don't necessarily, they're not actually looking for happiness. What they're actually craving is growth. Because let's say, okay, you become a millionaire, you won the lottery, and you can quit your job, you can do whatever you want for the rest of your life. How many success stories have we heard from lottery winners? Right?
0.
It's you're not real. Exactly. You're not ready for that because you didn't really know that was really the life that you wanted. And so it's about the incremental progress and putting in the effort to make that progress each day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Exhibit A Attorneys. If you're interested in becoming the Exhibit A of a successful attorney, please check us out at legalesemarketing.com, EASE.